All right, welcome back everybody to episode number 16 of the Plumecast. Thank you again for stopping by. This is my weekly gaming podcast where I talk about stuff in the news that I either didn't make a video about or I wanted to double down on from my weekly videos. If you are new to the channel, I make videos throughout the week and then I do my podcast on Sunday. But thank you for stopping by. If you enjoy what you see throughout this video, consider subscribing to help this channel grow. Now, this week has been another decent week in the news. There's some interesting stuff I want to talk about. Lots of PlayStation stuff that I didn't make videos about, but things like they are already looking at revising the digital edition of the PlayStation 5. Jade Raymond, who PlayStation signed to make a game for them, got some more information on the type of game that she is going to be making. As we know, she is one of the original creators of Assassin's Creed for way back in 2007 when that came out, which I thought was a pretty awesome game when it first dropped and kind of gave us a great concept as to what we have seen Assassin's Creed evolve into throughout the years. And then some stuff about the Netflix and touching on the Steam Deck again. And EA Play, we had EA Play this week, EA Play 2021. Just want to go over the stuff that they showed in that show. Now, within every single episode, if you are new here, I drink a beer, and I want to know what you guys are drinking in the comments below. So let me know the beer that you guys are drinking. But this week is Sam 76, and it is a lager ale hybrid. So it should be an interesting one. Let me know if you guys have had this, and again, what you're drinking or any suggestions that you have that I can keep an eye out. In terms of what I have been playing this week, I have played Assassin's Creed, the original game. I finished it this week. Just wanted to run through it again one more time, kind of get that nostalgia and that refresh of what the first one was all about and see how it's evolved to where we are with Assassin's Creed now. Like, it's so completely different if you look from the first one all the way to where we are now. I had fun time with the first one. It has a lot of flaws, of course. Like, it was a game that came out in 2007. There was a lot of hype around it. It didn't meet the expectations I think that a lot of people wanted it to meet, but I still think it's a pretty amazing game for the time it came out, the console that it came out on, just with the environments and the geographical locations and the actual NPC interactions when you're running through crowds, or even when you're in battle and you kill somebody and then you see like another enemy like start throwing up or start to feel sick, and like those type of little things for a game in 2007 I think is pretty amazing. But the biggest flaws I think are just like the controls, and the parkour isn't very precise, and that got so much better as the series went on. The story was decent. I enjoyed the story. The mission variety wasn't there. That was another big problem with it, which I think a lot of people were disappointed in. But like I say with the first Assassin's Creed, is that it was the concept that was the big thing, and they really turned it into a really awesome franchise. Now, besides that, I've been playing the last 2 days about Death's Door. That's a game that is an exclusive Xbox, a console exclusive. I always get that mixed up. So it's a console exclusive to Xbox, but it's also out on PC. And I picked that game up. It was only like $22 Canadian. So after tax, it was like $25. It was super cheap. But it is, from what I've played probably about 3 or 4 hours so far. It's an incredible game. If you are on the fence about Death's Door, you don't know what it's about, or you are kind of like, do I want to wait till it even drops further in price? I would say right now, if you like a action Zelda style game with puzzles and fighting big bosses and tough enemies where you really have to make sure you're dodging properly and you're attacking properly, and you can't just kind of hack and slash through every single enemy, and you're going through these interesting puzzles and interesting environments and just absolutely wacky characters, it's an awesome game. That's all I can say. It's an awesome game. It's made by 2 people, and right now I would say when I'm finished this game, it may be one of my favorite games of the year so far. Like, it is that good. It is that fun. Great atmosphere, great graphics, great music, great gameplay. I haven't found a single flaw in Death's Door yet that I can think of. And like, the 2 people made this game. It's crazy. That's why I love these indie games, because you get some of the most creative games in video games. Like, you get some of the most creative games no matter what genre you like. You have people who have this like creative freedom They aren't being told what to do. They don't have to meet a certain standard that a major overseeing company wants them to do. So you get such great things, and Death's Door is up there, maybe one of my favorite games of the entire year. So like I said, if you're on the fence, make sure to go check it out. And I mean, $25, you support a small indie developer that hopefully is going to make another great game like that after Death's Door's success. So that's what I've been playing, but let me know what you guys have been playing in the comments below. And without further ado, jump into the topics. All right, so the first topic I want to talk about here is that there is a new PlayStation 5 model that seems to be coming out, and it is going to be a lighter PlayStation 5 model, and it's going to have a new stand, and it's going to be specifically for the digital version of the PlayStation 5. Now, this comes via a Japanese, or an official Japanese product manual that shows that there is an updated hardware model called CFI-1100B, and it's going to weigh 3.6 kilograms, which is 300 grams less than the launch version of the digital PlayStation 5. And then on top of that, it looks like there is going to be a new stand coming with this model that is going to have a screw just fixed built into the stand, rather than what it is currently right now, which is just a separate screw that comes inside the stand. Then when you twist the stand, you can take it out and screw it in if you're standing your PlayStation 5 vertically, or if you're standing your PlayStation 5 horizontally, you take the screw, you put it back in the stand, twist it, and then attach it horizontally. So there's two minor changes coming to the PlayStation 5, it seems like, but they're two changes that is not surprising. So firstly, when they showed off the PS5, they first did that initial teardown. I created a video, and in that video, I was very clear, like, I am not a technical person. This is just my armchair layman's view of the PlayStation 5 versus the Xbox Series X, so which console I think is built better and designed better. And it was very obvious for anybody who didn't have blinders on or weren't, I guess, PlayStation fanboys, that the Series X was clearly the much better built and designed console than the PS5. It looks like the PS5 was like, it's huge, it's massive. It looked like it was rushed. It looks like they had to make last minute adjustments in order to make up for some changes that they had to make to it probably in the last minute. A lot of people are saying it's because of that overclocked CPU and all that kind of stuff, and the variable rate of the CPU, all that stuff. But all that aside, it is not a good looking console. It is a terribly designed console, in my opinion. It is terribly built, in my opinion. And that stand that comes with the PlayStation 5 is one of the most annoying things that I've ever seen in a product, a tech product, a video game console that I've ever had to deal with. Because I know it sounds minor, and you may think I'm nitpicking, but when you put your PlayStation 5 horizontally, which I have it in my entertainment system, in my entertainment center, and like I've said multiple times, it looks terrible. You have to put the horizontal stand on the back. It's not secured. It just has like two little rubber pads that slide into the back of the PS5. And let's say you want to switch out your HDMI, you want to add an Ethernet cable, you want to just put anything to plug into the back of the PS5, you kind of have to twist the system a bit, right? And one of the most annoying things that happens every single time is that when you twist the system, that stupid stand comes off, and the console gets all wobbly, like it like falls onto its side, and it's just so annoying having to deal with that dumb stand that they thought was a good idea for the design of a console, which makes absolutely no sense. It blows my mind that they even came up with that, and then just dealing with that is super annoying. And then you think about that little screw that comes with it that's separate from the stand right now. And when they first showed it off, one of my first thoughts was, do you know how many people are going to lose this dumb screw? Do you know how many people with kids who are just going to like, hey, I want to switch the console horizontally to put it in my room or something, or move it around the house, and that stupid screw is going to get lost? It's just like, I'm surprised that, or so I should say, I'm not surprised that they are fixing that screw problem, because that was just another terrible design choice. Why would they give you a separate screw instead of if you're going to have a stand, at least from the start, have it built in right to the stand? Like, that to me is a no-brainer. So all these types of things just make, in my opinion, the PlayStation 5 one of the worst design consoles I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, honestly. And if you watch my channel, you're going to say, oh, this guy makes Xbox news videos, so he's biased. And you know what? I'm not. This is my true feelings of how I think about it. And if I did PlayStation 5 news videos every single day, I would feel the exact same way. If the Xbox Series X had a stupid stand like this with a screw, I would feel the exact same way. It's not good. It's a terribly designed console. And I think anybody with a tiny bit of logic just by looking at it could understand that viewpoint. So I get the other side where people think it looks cool. It has like a cool curve and stuff like that. But to me, it's just a big ugly thing. And I wouldn't be surprised if more redesigns of this console come sooner rather than later. And they've already kind of talked about this. So I don't know how long ago it was. Oh, it says here in April. So in April, the Sony CFO Hiroki Totoki talked about how they really want to beat the volume of the PS4 in year 2, which would mean 14.8 million second year sales. And the only way that they're going to be able to do that with, like, they're saying here, with like all of the semiconductor shortages and all the supply issues, because as we know, it's super hard to stay up with the demand of these next gen consoles, is to make adjustments to production and to get different maybe secondary suppliers in order to make some of the parts of this console. And because of that, we're already starting to see them altering some of the design with the stand, with the weight and everything. And I think we're going to see more of that. And I also think that is kind of an easy way to justify altering the design of the PS5 sooner rather than later, right? Because if they made a major adjustment to the PS5 1 year after the console came out, you know how annoying that would be for consumers and the amount of outrage there would be if they made like a slimmer version, or a version that doesn't have a separate stand, or a version that doesn't have like the curved side, so you literally don't even have to have a stand with it. You just can put it anywhere you want. It just has like maybe rubber feet on the console itself. So I think this all could be somewhat of an excuse to kind of do it sooner rather than later. And they also talked about how there may be a new semi-customized 6nm CPU from AMD in 2022 that they'll use in the PS5. Not that it's going to change the power or anything like that, but it could maybe, I guess technically as well, if I'm right about this or not, let me know in the comments below, but it could technically change the size of the console because it's a smaller chip, but I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, the PS5, I mean, there's so many design flaws with it. Like, you look at the SSD, we still haven't gotten that announcement yet as to when are we getting the expandable SSD. They first, when they launched the PS5, said it's going to come later, and then they said it's going to come in the summer. They'll give us some news on it in the summer. Well, I'm looking right now, it's July 25th, and we haven't heard anything. And we're almost in August. Summer ends in a month, pretty much. Like, I think fall starts September 22nd. So the summer is done. Like, summer is not done. I shouldn't say done, but summer is wrapping up. We have one more month left, pretty much. And we still haven't heard anything about that expandable SSD. My hunch with the expandable SSD is that they're having serious issues keeping the heat down and making sure that people are going to be putting in the right SSD that isn't going to overheat the console. Because when we saw back when these consoles launched, Gamer Nexus did a really good breakdown of the heat of the Series X and the PS5. And with the Series X, they're like, yeah, there's no real issues that we have any concerns about with how hot the Xbox Series X is. With the PS5, they had some concerns about how hot the memory gets. So if there's concerns right now about how hot the memory gets, what's going to happen when you add in an external SSD in that little slot that they have in there that heats up the console even more? There could be issues, and maybe that's what they're really trying to work around right now, and it's probably a lot harder to solve than we think, because you'd think by now there would be the option to expand. I mean, you get 825 gigabytes on the PS5, and then what you actually get for games is like, what, 656 or something like that. it's very little space with the size of games these days, and you can't even expand it. With the Series X, the Series S, you can buy a memory card. Yeah, they're expensive, but they are super convenient and they're super well done. How you can just plug it in like a memory card, take it out, plug it into your other console. And we've already seen some price cuts. Like I've seen like $20, $30 off already on that expandable SSD. I'm probably going to pick one of those up soon because I have so many games on my Xbox now, and I have an external hard drive where I put like 360 games and smaller games and games where I know the loading isn't going to be that long anyways, so I don't need that super fast loading. But as we go through and we get the first party games dropping, like this fall alone with Forza and Halo Infinite, and once I want all those games on my SSD, it'd be cool to have that expandable SSD. So we'll see what happens. I think that PlayStation is going to have a bigger redesign of the PS5 sooner rather than later, because I think they did rush this console in the way that it looks and everything. And it's interesting to see this stuff happening, to see that they're trying to make it lighter already, maybe going to make it smaller. They're getting rid of these little minor design flaws that fanboys and haters of who watched my video and probably watched many other videos on YouTube just kind of ignored, rather than just saying, yeah, this is terrible what they did. It wasn't good. Like, you look at the way that they created the PS5, you compare it to the Series X and the Series S, and yeah, the Series X and the Series S are just boxes, but they're small, sleek boxes that look great in a home, and they don't have any heating issues whatsoever. So we'll have to wait and see what happens overall if they do actually create another PS5 with that smaller 6nm chip from AMD, or maybe they come out with just a completely new redesign one. And then it'll be really interesting to see what they do with the SSD. In terms of this one specifically, with this lighter model with the stand, they're probably not going to even advertise it. They're not going to let anybody know. It's going to probably be like what they did with the Nintendo Switch when the Switch came out with that secondary model after the original model came out. And the original model had a tiny bit, I believe, of a smaller battery life. Maybe more than a tiny bit, but it definitely had a worse battery life, and it could be hacked and all those things. And then they just came out with a new version of the same console with a better battery life, and I don't think could be hacked, or I think only the first version could be hacked. So, and they didn't advertise it, but if you were somebody who wasn't following the gaming industry, you would walk into a store, you'd buy that newer version of the Nintendo Switch, and you'd have no idea that it was a newer version. You probably just thought it was the same Nintendo Switch that came out at launch. So they're probably going to do the exact same thing like this with the PS5. But let me know what you guys think about this redesign, and if you agree with me that the PS5 is one of the worst design consoles you've ever seen. So one of the gadgets I'm most excited for that is coming out this year is going to be the Steam Deck. I was able to get a pre-order when they came out, and I'm hoping to get it when they start shipping them in December. Who knows if I'll get it a couple months later. Like, we don't know how fast they're going to be able to ship all of these out to people and what the timeline is and all that kind of stuff, because it is coming in December. We don't know what date, and with the holiday season and all that kind of stuff, it may slow it down. But anyways, I should be getting it in the first month or two that it's out, and I'm just extremely excited for it. When they first showed it off, I thought it was just an awesome looking device, a very unique device with the touchpads and the buttons on the back and all that kind of stuff, and made me kind of completely forget the Nintendo Switch. So I'm really excited for it. But one of the things people are asking is that, what games are going to be able to be played on this thing? Is it going to be able to handle every game? Is it going to be able to handle next generation games and games coming out in the future? And it seems like what they have done from a hardware perspective is going to keep the Steam Deck future proof. So games that come out on the Series X, on the PS5, on PC in 2022, 2023 and beyond are going to, hopefully, I mean, they say they are going to, but hopefully they actually are going to be able to run. So there was a deep dive of the Steam Deck from IGN, and they said here that they had not been running into any issues with playing any games, and that everything that they've been playing has been working, and that they had previously had prototypes of the Steam Deck. Valve had created prototypes of the Steam Deck and were testing it out, and those previous prototypes just weren't cutting it. They weren't able to run all of the games that they wanted to run, and their goal was to be able to run everything that's currently available and going forward in the Steam library. So they say here, this is the first time we've achieved the level of performance that is required to really run the latest generation of games without problems. All the games we wanted to be playable is really the entire Steam library. We haven't really found something we could throw at this device that it couldn't handle. And they're saying here that at the very least, games will easily scale down to its lower resolution of 800p, which is the display, and run at least 30 hertz. So in a handheld mode, 800p with the size of the screen, everything, it's going to be fine. And then the 30 hertz in handheld is going to be fine as well. And depending on what you're playing, like if you're playing a crazy next generation game, the fact that you can just play it in your hands alone is impressive, even if it is at 30 hertz. And they also are using a brand new AMD CPU and GPU along with LPDDR5 RAM, which is very fast memory. And they're saying here that this might be the actual first product that showcases this new memory technology, which gives a lot of future proofing, especially since they are not the only people with the architecture within the Steam Deck. So the RDNA 2 architecture, all that kind of stuff that we know that is in the Xbox Series X, and that there are a lot of features within that RDNA 2 architecture that is going to future proof a lot of these gaming devices, like Fidelity FX Super Resolution, where the frame rates are going to be able to be steady at a high 60 frames per second or whatever without sacrificing graphical quality in the games that are being played. And I think that is going to be the most important stuff when it comes to the Steam Deck going forward, is how they utilize the current AMD chips and the RDNA 2 stuff in order to get games that would generally need high-powered hardware to play to run well on the Steam Deck. Not that the Steam Deck isn't high-powered hardware. I think for a handheld, it's absolutely awesome what they've done here with the price point that we're getting it at too. So I'm extremely excited for this. I expect this to be a really good handheld. I think everything is going to run great on it from what we've seen, what's inside of it. And the thing that has me the most excited, like I said before, is that it's customizable. You can do whatever you want. Like you can install Windows 11 with built-in Game Pass right onto the Steam Deck. And then you have that Xbox handheld where you are able to download games from Xbox Game Pass onto the handheld, not have to stream it, and then be able to have this with you on the go. It's one of the products I think I've been most excited for since they announced the Xbox Series X. The Steam Deck by far is up there with my hype for it. So I will be getting it, and I will be doing some videos on it as I've talked about. So yeah, I don't think there'll be problems with the Steam catalog. The other thing that people were thinking about was the issues with SteamOS, and that some games aren't able to run because of SteamOS and it being Linux based and all that kind of stuff. And there was a list of games that they put out that aren't able to run on SteamOS, and it's a very small list. There's nothing there that is concerning. So you're pretty much going to be able to have your entire Steam catalog and whatever other catalog you want to load on it, because it's pretty much just a PC in your hands. Okay, jumping over here to Netflix and gaming. So last week I talked about how Netflix had announced that they were jumping into the gaming industry and that they were going to add games to their service. We didn't know how they were going to go about it, but my initial thought was the best way for them to do this, if they want to be successful, is just add it in. Just add it into the subscriptions, add it in for the subscribers at no additional cost, and get people to buy in that way to see that it's actually a worthy competitor in the gaming markets. Well, it looks like they updated how they're going to do this, and that they are going to go about it this way. And they put out a letter to its investors saying this: we're also in the early stages of further expanding into games, building on our earlier efforts around interactivity, example, Black Mirror, Bandersnatch, and our Stranger Things games. We view gaming as another new content category to us, similar to our expansion to original films, animation, and scripted and unscripted TV. Games will be included in members' Netflix subscriptions at no additional cost, similar to films and series. So right there, so they say that they are going to be giving it to everyone for free. If you have Netflix, I have Netflix, you're going to be getting any games that they are putting out right away. And that these games are going to be focused on games for mobile devices. So that was the next thing that I think a lot of people were wondering, what does this mean that Netflix is getting into gaming? Was it going to be a company that they're going to try to really compete with like the big boys of gaming, like Nintendo, Microsoft, and Sony? Or were they going to try to just be like Apple with Apple Arcade and provide access to fun mobile games for more casual gamers and people that don't really care about having gaming hardware to play games? And it looks like that's what they're going to be doing. They're going to be going into the mobile gaming part right now. I guess right now is the big thing. They may eventually expand out after. Like, this could be their initial test to see how subscribers take to it, how many people play games who are currently subscribed to Netflix. Is it even worth pursuing? Because they go on to say here that they compete with video games for people's attention. And that's like the main metric, how a lot of these subscription services work. Like, that's what they look at, is the attention of each consumer and how often do they log in and use the service. Because the longer that they keep using the service, the higher chance they're going to spend money and stay subscribed for a long period of time. And they say here that they are competing and losing to Fortnite more than they are to a company like HBO for people's attention. This was said by co-CEO Reed Hastings back in 2019, and that to me makes a ton of sense. So what I think they're doing here with the gaming side of things is they're putting it out there free for subscribers to see if there's even a desire for their current subscribers who like watching movies and like watching TV shows to then, at the same time when they're not watching movies and watching TV shows, or maybe while they're watching movies and TV shows, playing a game on their phone and holding their attention for longer periods of time. That's what their goal is. And I think by giving it free to subscribers, they're going to be able to test out whether this is even something that is worth pursuing beyond this initial launch. So I think that's a very smart move by Netflix. I thought that if they were going to release Netflix gaming at like an additional, even if it was like $3 a month or something, $3 to $5 a month, I thought it would have been a bad move. And I don't think it would have been successful. I know Apple Arcade did that, and I think they're doing okay with that, but that's kind of, I guess they do have Apple TV and all that kind of stuff, but it seems a bit different because there's already games within Apple. Like, if you have an iPhone, you already are probably playing games that you're downloading from the App Store on your iPhone or on your iPad, whereas in Netflix, they have nothing to do really with gaming, right? You're going to Netflix, you never at all think about playing video games. So by adding in these mobile games for free, they're going to get a lot of good metrics. And then maybe if people play a ton of games and the game playing is surpassing the amount of time people are spending watching movies and TV shows, maybe they will expand their gaming division more, try to make bigger games, stuff like that. But what this also means is that this is in no way going to be a competitor to Xbox Game Pass. Like, this is going to be a competitor to Apple Arcade. And there is no, so the Netflix of gaming is still going to be Xbox, right? Like the real gaming, I guess. I don't want to say, I know I just said real gaming because personally, I don't play mobile games at all. Like, I have zero interest in playing any of those casual mobile games. I can't stand touch controls. I can't play like those bubble pop games for more than maybe 2 minutes. They're just not for me. And it's generally more of a casual gamer who doesn't spend that much time playing video games overall, who play those types of games. And I think that's the market they are really, really trying to target. And like I said, not a competitor to Game Pass. We'll see how it works overall. If people are going to use it, if people are going to actually play games. And everybody already has a cell phone, so they don't need to put out any hardware. You can probably just download the stuff right to your phone. And I have a Netflix subscription. I will probably check it out and see just how it works and what type of games they put out, because they could put out some relatively cool mobile games that are deeper than just like puzzle games and stuff like that, like maybe like an RPG or something. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. And then we'll see what they're going to do in terms of like their original content, because we know they have original content for movies and TV shows, but are they going to have original content for gaming, or are they just going to publish games from other developers, from third parties and stuff like that? But then getting back to what they said, how they are competing for attention with gaming more so than they're competing for attention with HBO. This is all like a philosophy that even Xbox Game Pass has, right? The reason why Xbox Game Pass has games coming out every single month and day and date games, and they're always trying to get more third-party games coming, is because they know that in order to be successful as a subscription service, that people need to be logging in almost daily or at least weekly into the service in order for them to continue to make money and to continue it to grow. And to do that, you have to have great content to get people to want to come in. So what I guess Netflix is thinking is that they already have people logging in to watch a TV show, to watch a movie, but what if they finish that TV show and they're not interested in watching any movies? They will still log in now to play a game. So there'll always be at some point a connection between Netflix and their consumer, and getting another medium like gaming is going to really help that. And I think it is a decent move, but it's not going to replace any of like the AAA stuff coming out or whatever, unless they just get so big and they start making AAA games later on. All right, so jumping over here to the next topic, and has to do with Jade Raymond and the PlayStation 5 exclusive game that she is working on from her Haven Entertainment studio, which is going to be Sony backed. So the next game is going to be exclusive to the PlayStation 5. Jade Raymond started with Assassin's Creed and Ubisoft, with Ubisoft Montreal putting out the first game. And then later she went on to Google Stadia to create games for Google Stadia. And then that studio got shut down, all that kind of stuff. And now she opened up Haven Entertainment, and Sony has backed in. There's going to be an exclusive game coming out for PlayStation. So we would assume that the game was going to be like a third-person action game based off of her experience in her previous games that she's worked on. But it looks like the game that's coming out from Haven for PlayStation is going to be a games as a service game. And this comes via an Italian publication called multiplayer.it, who cites recruiters as the source of information. So we didn't know anything about what she was working on when this deal got announced and everything. And now we know that it is going to be a games as a service game, which could mean an MMO, could mean pretty much anything. Could be a third-person action that is free to play, that they continue to add content to on a regular basis. Could be something like a GTA Online style of game. I mean, any of those possibilities for a games as a service game come to mind. But what this does really show is the kind of way that the industry is going, where these games as a service game are becoming more and more popular, and they're happening more and more often. We've seen previously with Ubisoft, who want to focus on more free-to-play stuff, turning them into games as a service with that recent announcement of X Defiant, which is like that free first-person shooter. Looks kind of like a Call of Duty clone, and that's going to be games as a service where they're going to continue to add content. We've seen stuff like Apex, Warzone. All of these games are games as a service because they're free to play, and then they add more money as you pay into it, into the service of playing the game. If you want the battle pass, you want cosmetics, you want stuff like that, right? You just continue to pay money to get that stuff with these games. And it seems like that is the way that the industry is going, because that's where all the money is. That's where people are continuously spending money. This is kind of just an offset or a slight deviation from what Game Pass is, which is a subscription service. All of these games as a service games are pretty much subscription services, because you're paying a fee every single time something comes out new in order to be able to access that content. And it's going to have a longevity of multiple years. And I think we're going to see a lot more of this stuff going forward. And I don't really know how I feel about games as a service. It depends, right? I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's that great. I think it all depends on the types of games that you want to play in and the type of gamer you are. For me personally, I play a ton of games. Like, I play a wide variety of games. I love going through single player campaigns. I love just playing one day a shooter, one day a platformer, next day a third person action adventure game. And I love trying out a bunch of new stuff. So for me, games as a service isn't something that I get too crazy over, because I don't always spend years or months playing the same game and putting all of my time into that one game. So I always want to see new stuff coming out. But if you're somebody who plays maybe one or two games and you are just solely focused on being the best at those one or two games, or leveling up your character and all that kind of stuff, games as a service is perfect for you, because you're always going to continue to get new content. And then a lot of these games are going to be free to play right off of the bat. So you're going to be able to jump in, fall in love with the game, and then you like it so much that you're going to want to continue to pay for it on a monthly basis or whenever new content drops. I don't think it's like the worst thing in the world. The only problem here I see is when a lot of big franchises that people love start to do it, then they get annoyed because they don't want that to happen. Like, for example, with Assassin's Creed Infinity, a lot of people lost their mind when that got announced and just completely went totally negative on the game. But I don't think people fully like grasped what the announcement was. They just pretty much thought, okay, this is going to be like an MMO subscription style game, and it could very well end up being like that. But they also said after there is going to be some narrative elements and single player elements to it. So I'm going to withhold my thoughts on that. But Assassin's Creed for me is one of my favorite franchises, and I would hate to see it completely turned into a game where you have to pay a monthly fee in order to experience the entire story. If they release Assassin's Creed Infinity and it's like you get to play through this brand new adventure, and then they're going to keep Assassin's Creed Infinity as the main Assassin's Creed game going forward for the next like 5 years or so, and then just continuously adding in content where you have to pay for a season pass or a monthly whatever fee a little bit to experience it, then that's fine. I have no problem with that. I think that can just be something that if you love a franchise so much, you continue to expand on it. Like we even think about now with Halo Infinite. So Halo Infinite, you get the single player campaign on Xbox Game Pass, and then if you don't have Xbox Game Pass, you're going to go out and you're going to pay for it. But the multiplayer is free to play. Now, the multiplayer being free to play is something they're going to support for years and years and years to come. And there's not going to be microtransactions like anything like to give you an advantage over other people, but they're going to be making tons of money off of people buying cosmetics from transactions within Halo Infinite. And to me, people love to bitch and complain about cosmetics as microtransactions, it's predatory and all that kind of stuff. It's predatory if there's like a gambling part to it and kids are buying it, they don't know what they're buying. But I think in general, if you add in microtransactions that are cosmetic, people know what they're buying, adults are buying it. I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I just think that there should never be any microtransactions that give a player an advantage, like the pay to win systems I can't stand. But all of these things are considered, I'd say, games as a service because they're a reoccurring fee that gives continued revenue to these companies. And I think that if they become predatory in nature, then they're bad. But until we start to see these games that come out, if the content is lazy and they're just trying to cash in on people getting addicted to a gameplay loop, then I guess that's not very good. But I think that if we get like these big expansive worlds that we enjoy, and if we want to continue playing inside of these worlds instead of having to go out and purchase a brand new $60 game, or in Canada $80 game, you just pay a little bit more money to experience it for another period of time. I think that could be not such a bad thing. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm kind of surprised that this game from Jade Raymond is going to be a games as a service game. It's their first game from her new studio. It's backed by Sony, but it's probably not going to be the biggest game in the world. It's not going to have the best marketing in the world. It's not going to be a game that has the most hype out there from the PlayStation content. So we'll have to wait and see how it all pans out. But let me know what you guys think about games as a service. Do you hate them? Do you think they're okay depending on how they're used? All that kind of stuff. All right, to end off the show this week, I just want to quickly talk about EA Play Live. We get this every year. Some years more lackluster than others. This year, it was like pretty lackluster. They didn't show that much, but there are two games here that caught my attention, and I'll just go over the stuff they announced. So firstly, it was one of the first things they showed off. I think it was the first game they showed off, actually, and it was Grid Legends. Now, this is from the newly EA acquired studio Codemasters. As we know, they bought Codemasters and they make absolutely amazing racing games like Dirt 5. I thought was a great game. And then they have the Grid series, which is more like road racing, pretty much. I guess the best way to put it. I'm not too versed in the Grid series, to be completely honest, but they announced this new game called Grid Legends, and it looks pretty interesting because it has a story mode, and I kind of like that in racing games where you're playing through a campaign and you have an interesting story mode, and they have real actors and everything. So it's kind of like all of those EA Sports games like Madden, FIFA, what's the other one? I guess UFC, all those games where you play through like a career with like videos and all that kind of stuff, and you play through like a story of that guy, of that player. They're gonna have this similar thing here with Grid Legends, and it looks like it could be very interesting if you mix a story mode in with just like the great racing that Codemasters provides with their games. It seems like it will be fun, and we have to remember that EA is a part of Game Pass. Therefore, Grid Legends could potentially be coming over to Xbox Game Pass at some point. So if this isn't a game you want to pick up, you don't think it's worth your money right away, you could just wait and play it on Xbox Game Pass when it drops. Because look at Dirt 5 is already on Xbox Game Pass, and games usually come over to EA Play that are brand new from EA about 6 months after their release. At least all of the sports games do, and I'm assuming they would be something similar like that with Grid Legends. So they also recently released F1 2021 that may be coming over to Xbox Game Pass as well at some point. So that game looks fun. I'm not the biggest racing game fan in the world, but if they have a cool story that you race through and they have interesting acting, all that kind of stuff, I'll probably end up playing through it, especially if it makes its way onto Game Pass. All right, the next game they show off here is called Lost in Random, and it is a action adventure game, third person. Looks extremely unique. The action looks fun. There's a bunch of different gameplay mechanics you can see from the gameplay trailer. The graphics are cool, the sound, all that kind of stuff. It just looks like a different game that we haven't seen before, and this one actually got me decently interested, but like it still wasn't something that blew my mind from EA Play. So Lost in Random, hopefully it makes its way out into Game Pass one day. I'll probably check it out. I don't think I'd buy it, but it could be one of those games that is a hidden gem. Like there's even dialogue options, and it looks like there's so many different styles of like combats that you do. There's card system and all those types of stuff. It looks interesting. I think that I like to see these unique different styles of games. Like I said, I've been playing Death's Door, and that game is from 2 developers, and it's absolutely amazing. And this one may be one of those games because it comes from Swedish game studio Zoink, who obviously isn't that big of a game studio, and it's being published by EA, giving them the chance to put out their creative vision. So it could be something to keep your eye on. Then I went over Knockout City. I know this game is pretty popular. I don't know too much about it. I think I played like one match. It's like a dodgeball game. They put out the next season for it, and I'm honestly surprised to see how much this game has taken off. Like when they announced it and they showed it off, I didn't think it would be that popular, but it seems like a lot of people are into this game. But they put out their Knockout City Season 2, which contains a map of ever-changing movie-inspired arenas called the Hollowwood Drive-In, a new ball, so I guess the dodgeballs have different abilities or whatever, new playlists, gear, and rewards. So if you're into Knockout City, there's that. I don't know too much about this. Apex Legends. I know a lot of people love Apex Legends. They talked about the new season, the new character. They adding ranked, I believe, to the arena mode, that kind of stuff. So if you're an Apex Legends fan, you have that to look forward to. And then they ended off here with the 2 most exciting things out of them all. One of them for exciting because I want to eventually play all the games, but I know there's some huge fans out there for it. But I'll start off here with Battlefield 2042 and the Battlefield portal. Now, this looks like it's going to be awesome. Battlefield and DICE and everybody working on this game seems like they took their time. They stepped back from Battlefield 5. They realized that they were losing the market. They were losing the game with Call of Duty and everything else out there. And it looks like they're bringing their A game completely with Battlefield 2042. I am so excited for this game. I know there's all the backlash about like the next gen version being $10 more on console, which I believe it's the same as PC, and that sucks. I don't know why they would do that. And then there was the backlash about having no single player campaign, and you know what? No single player campaign because of the price. And you know what? When it comes to that, I love single player campaigns, but I really sat back and I thought about it. And in my mind, I'm thinking, with the amount of content Battlefield 2042 is providing, especially after their announcement at EA Play, which is Battlefield Portal, for the price that you're paying, you're getting way more content than if you're paying full price for a single player campaign that it lasts like 10 to 15 hours. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, especially for a game where the majority of people are going to be playing multiplayer. But they announced Battlefield Portal, and basically it's just a mishmash of their old Battlefield games. So Battlefield 1942, Battlefield Bad Company 2, Battlefield Bad Company 3, and I believe the Battlefield 2042 stuff. So they're going to have all of these different Battlefields with upgraded graphics, and you're going to be able to go into Battlefield Portal and just customize like game types, game sizes, anything that you want to do in Battlefield, like maps. They're going to bring back some classic maps. And then they're going to have this new system called the Battlefield Portal Logic Editor, which they say here gives you more options than ever when it comes to creating your own Battlefield experience, letting you set victory conditions, team scale, and more. You have the ability to share your experiences with the community through an experience link. And it just seems like it's going to allow you to just customize literally everything. And you're going to be able to change like specific conditions and define like a bunch of different stuff. So you're gonna have a lot of customized stuff within this Battlefield Portal. And I think this is going to create like just an absolutely incredible experience for a lot of people, depending on how you want to play the game, who you want to play with, the types of weapons you want to play with, the maps you want to play on, all that kind of stuff. And I think this is a very, very big announcement from DICE, from Battlefield, and that it's going to be an extremely popular game. I think that all the other shooters coming out, even Halo Infinite, need to keep their eye out on Battlefield, because this is going to be an insane holiday season when it comes to shooters. Now, I'm not saying that I'm more excited for Battlefield than Halo. Like Halo, I'm at the highest level of excitement for all games and for shooters, and under that is Battlefield 2042. I'm excited to see just what they're going to do, how this game is going to play, how fun the game modes are going to be with the amount of people that are going to be on a single map, and what crazy stuff people are going to come out with Battlefield Portal. Like, you think about all of the custom games in Halo and how fun those are, and then you think about all the custom stuff that's going to come out of Battlefield 2042. I think you're going to get such a crazy videos. It's going to be really fun for streaming. I think it's a really, really good move, and I think that DICE, like I said, really brought their A game with Battlefield 2042, and I know nobody's played it yet, but from everything we've seen, this game looks absolutely incredible. This is probably gonna be the best Battlefield game ever in terms of multiplayer. And I love how they're bringing back like Bad Company stuff, because I found the Bad Company single player campaigns were really fun. It was the last real single player campaign that I played from the Battlefield series. So to me, Battlefield now is just a completely multiplayer series, and I think it's okay because of what they have done with Battlefield Portal and what their game modes and what they're focusing on. I don't think it's all bad that there is no campaign. But yeah, I'm pumped for this. Let me know what you guys think about Battlefield Portal, and if this is something that you can't wait to jump into. And then they finally officially announced, like they say here, one of the worst kept secrets in gaming, and that is the Dead Space remake. Now, I'm going to admit, I've never played Dead Space, but all of their games are on Game Pass, so I am going to do my best to try to play through the Dead Space games, because I've heard such great things about it. I believe that from what the style of game it is, I will love it. But overall, from the amount of fans that are out there for Dead Space, it is great to see that they are bringing this game back. It's going to be a next generation game. It's going to have amazing graphics. It's probably going to be even scarier than it's ever been because of how realistic it's going to look. There's no release window for it or anything. That's the problem. It'll be out for a while. But it's great that they are listening to people who want to bring back Dead Space. Now, hopefully, if this game's a success, they make a brand new Dead Space after this, but we'll have to wait and see. So overall, EA Play, it was pretty whatever, right? It was just like a couple of games that are doing well right now in terms of like Apex, Knockout City, all that kind of stuff. They announced the new grid, but the killer of them all was that Battlefield Portal. I can't wait to see what comes out of people making their own custom stuff within the Battlefield Portal. Anyways, guys, that's it for me. Let me know what you think about all the stuff in the comments below. And once again, thank you for all the support, whether you've been listening for a long time or whether you're new here. It really does mean a ton to me, helping grow this community so we can continue to have great conversations in the comments below about everything that is going on. And it's going to be a really fun couple of weeks and months for Xbox. You think about what's coming out on Game Pass just in these next 2 weeks, or that's currently out there right now. Like the stuff that got announced these last 2 weeks for Game Pass is awesome. You got Flight Simulator, you got The Ascent, you got Chris Tales, Then you have Death's Door, which isn't on Game Pass, but it's still an exclusive, an Xbox console exclusive, and go check it out if you haven't. Like I've said many times, you got Psychonauts next month. I'm sure I'm missing a bunch of other stuff, but then you also have like, you got Halo coming up, you got Forza coming up. Like it's going to be just a great couple of months going from now until the end of the year. It's always going to be stuff to play. So again, thanks for watching. Thanks for your support, and thanks for listening. And I'll catch you throughout the week in my videos or next week on the Plumecast.
Bye.